go. You can't.
I don't want to. I can't do it anymore. What we've been doing.
You don't have to.
But you do. It's who you are. When I first started the season, I figured that Lumen would either be alive or dead, but I kind of assumed that she'd end up dead because that's sort of what happens to everybody who figures out the truth of Dexter's life. But then even beyond that, I couldn't believe that she broke up with him. It was even a really difficult scene to play because we spent the whole season building this relationship and a level of really odd intimacy, and for her to throw all that away was difficult for me to wrap my brain around. But I think ultimately what I settled on was she's healed, and you know, the reality of what they've been doing kind of sinks in.
Her dark passenger, it's vanished.
The sad thing about the breakup, it's like a really true rejection of him, and it's so sad. I mean, what was so great about their relationship was that she was the only one who knew who he really was and accepted him for that. And similarly, he knew the truth about what had happened to her and still embraced her. And for her to then ultimately say that she can't be a part of it anymore is really rejecting him essentially as a person, which is terrible.
This is what happened to the girls before you. This is what was gonna happen to you. I saved your life.
How do I know that you didn't kill these girls?
You don't. It's a leap of faith. For both of us.
There are levels of trust, and there's also trust out of necessity. The first step was obviously when Dexter's showing her the barrels and hands her a knife, and even after she stabs him, he still doesn't hurt her. And it is interesting that even early on, he doesn't kill her. I mean, that means that he still has a moral code, even if it's different from the code. It's almost like they have a deal, you know, in terms of what each character knows about the other.
My wife was murdered. Brutally. By someone like Boyd. I don't want to see any more innocent people die.
The biggest difference between Lumen and Rita is kind of obvious. It's that Rita didn't know anything about who Dexter really was. I would have hated to have Lumen be some sort of manipulative chick, you know, where she's trying to insert herself into Dexter's life or take over Rita's position. And the good thing about the way that the situation was set up is that it's totally inadvertent. Lumen has no idea. And I tried not to think too much about comparisons between Rita and Lumen because that is a heavy burden. They're just very different relationships. What do you think?
Perfect.
Really? The kill scenes were so much fun to shoot. It's so crazy. I can't describe it. Like, there's a sort of weird sacredness to the kill rooms because there's so much attention to detail that goes into setting up the rooms. I think also because as a fan of the show, you know how important they are and special in the history of Dexter. When they first get back from the kill room and she decides that this is what she wants to do, there was a lot of discussion about the consummation of their relationship. I was more worried about, you know, is Lumen really ready for this? And I think that the ultimate answer was that something that I think is very unique about Lumen is from the get-go, she's got this survival instinct. She is determined to not be a victim. She's determined to move on in her life. And this is actually a step towards that. And then romantically too, it's like, yeah, these two characters share a level of intimacy that is totally unique and deep. I give a lot of credit to the writers for tackling a subject like love in a way that seems almost like classical. It's just a beautiful thing that she trusts him to share that experience with him and also not be scared. And the determination to take steps forward towards recovery. I mean, it's obviously a very unique situation anyway. They're killing people.
Whatever's in your arms, drop it now. Both of you.
There's something really great about her letting them go because of the sympathy that she has for Lumen. That Deborah knows what they did and is willing to overlook it is such a generous act. I think it's also really fascinating that this season, the show has really tackled the idea of like what is right and what is wrong, and every character is dealing with their own questions about morality. I think that's one of the most interesting aspects of the show. God, where are they gonna go next season? I think it's really interesting that it is kind of left open-ended. I mean, talk about carrying around a secret. Lumen's got some secrets that she's gonna have to deal with.
Dexter returns for an all-new season. Log on to SHO.com for details.